All right, ready to dive into another one of history's wild rides.
Always. What have you dug up for us this time?
Well, today we're taking a trip back a few thousand years, gonna explore the story of Deborah.
Deborah. Okay. Vaguely rings a bell, remind me.
Right, so she was this woman who led the Israelites, but not as a queen or anything, more like a spiritual guide during this really tough time for them.
Gotcha. So what's so interesting about her? Tons of leaders throughout history. Yeah.
Oh, this is where it gets good. We're talking serious oppression, a real underdog story. The Israelites were under the rule of this Canaanite king, Jabin.
Okay, and I'm guessing King Jabin wasn't exactly known for his kindness.
You got that right. One of the sources even called it a reign of terror. This wasn't just a difference of opinion. They were living under this guy's thumb for 20 years.
Ouch. 2 decades of that. I can't even imagine what made it so bad. Just a mean ruler? Or...
Oh, he had an enforcer, a military commander named Sisera, and this guy was ruthless. Plus, get this, Sisera had iron chariots.
Iron chariots, like that's what made them so tough.
Yeah, think about it. In those days, that was like having tanks rolling through your streets. Nobody could stand up to that kind of firepower. The Israelites were completely outmatched.
I bet that really instilled some fear, seeing those things coming.
Yeah.
So where does Deborah fit into all this? How do you go from feeling powerless to fighting back against iron chariots?
Well, that's where Deborah's story gets really interesting. She wasn't just a leader in the, political sense. She was also a prophetess.
A prophetess, so like she had visions, heard from God, that sort of thing.
Exactly. She was considered this direct link to the divine, and people came from all over to hear her wisdom and get her guidance.
So she's already a powerful figure, even before the whole liberation thing kicks off. Okay, now I'm hooked. What happens next?
So the Israelites are obviously desperate. They're crying out for help, and God hears them. But instead of just snapping his fingers and fixing everything,
He decides to work through people, shake things up a bit.
you got it. And get this, instead of appointing a big strong warrior to lead the charge, God chooses Deborah to deliver them.
Interesting. But he doesn't stop there, does he? There's a twist coming, I can feel it. He throws a bit of a curveball, doesn't he? It's like, okay, Deborah, you're going to lead them to freedom, B-U-T.
There's always a but, isn't there? So what's the catch?
God tells her to team up with Barak.
Barak. Who's he in all of this?
He was an Israelite military leader. So God's basically saying, Deborah, you've got the divine strategy, but you'll need someone to, actually rally the troops.
I see. So it's a partnership. But you'd think Deborah, being a prophetess and all, she could have just, delivered the divine message and let Barak handle the fighting part.
You might think so, right? But it wasn't that simple. See, when Deborah approaches Barak and tells him the plan, he gets kind of hesitant.
Hesitant. He's about to take on an army with iron chariots. I'd be hesitant too. What was he so worried about?
Well, according to the text, Barak basically says to Deborah, if you come with me, I'll go. But if you don't go with me, I'm not going.
Wow. He wouldn't go without her. That's a pretty big statement, especially back then. A woman on the battlefield, that was pretty much unheard of.
Exactly. And it really shows how much Barak respected Deborah's wisdom and leadership. It wasn't just about her divine connection. He saw her as a vital part of the strategy, a true partner in this whole thing.
Okay, so no pressure, Deborah. The fate of the Israelites rests on your shoulders. Talk about a leadership test, right? So she agrees.
Oh, she agrees, all right. And with Deborah by his side, Barak starts gathering the Israelite troops, ready to face Sisera's army.
Oh.
But before they clash, Deborah drops another bombshell.
Another one. Okay, this lady clearly doesn't do anything halfway. What does she say?
She prophesies that the victory, get this, will come from the hand of a woman.
From a woman. Everyone's probably thinking, well, duh, Deborah's right here leading the charge. Did she whip out a sword or something?
Not quite. That's what makes this story so incredible. So the two armies finally clash in a place called Mount Tabor. And things are not looking good for the Israelites at first. They're seriously outnumbered.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat. What happens? Does Deborah pull some crazy prophetic miracle?
It's almost more dramatic than that. So picture this.
Yeah.
The battle's raging, both sides are giving it their all, and then, out of nowhere, a massive rainstorm hits.
A rainstorm, like a little sprinkle, or are we talking Noah's Ark level downpour here?
Oh, this was no drizzle. We're talking torrential downpour, the kind that turns the ground into a muddy swamp, washes away everything in its path.
And remember those iron chariots? Not so intimidating in the mud, huh?
You got it. Those chariots, the very things that gave Sisera's army their advantage, they became completely useless. Stuck in the mud, wheels sinking, horses panicking.
Talk about ironic. But this wasn't just lucky timing, was it? How did the Israelites interpret this sudden turn of events?
Put yourself in their shoes. They're fighting a seemingly unbeatable enemy. The odds are stacked against them. And suddenly, the heavens open up and deliver them from this terrifying foe.
I'd say that qualifies as divine intervention. It's like, okay, God's on our side. But what about Sisera? Did he just surrender?
Well, here's the thing. Sisera, he realizes the battle is lost. And he does something that speaks volumes about his state of mind. He abandons his chariot and runs.
He runs. This guy, the Iron Chariot General, he just ditches his ride and legs it. What does that tell you?
To me, it screams desperation. He abandons the very symbol of his power, the thing that instills so much fear, and becomes just another guy trying to escape with his life.
Wow. So the rain, the mud, it wasn't just about military strategy anymore. It became this whole symbolic turning point. But wait, let's not forget Deborah's prophecy. Victory from the hand of a woman. And we've got Sisera on the run, but it wasn't Deborah who took him down, right? So how does this all play out?
Yeah, it's like all that authority, all that fear he projected, just washed away with the mud. It's kind of poetic when you think about it.
Definitely. But yeah, you're right. We still haven't gotten to that prophecy. So, the mighty general's on the run. Who brings him down?
This is where it gets really wild. Enter Jael.
Jael. Okay, give me some context. Who's she in all of this?
She was the wife of this guy, Heber. And Heber, he was a Kenite.
Kenite. Okay, refreshing my ancient tribe's knowledge here. They weren't exactly friends with the Israelites, were they?
Not exactly enemies either. They kind of had this neutral thing going on.
So Jael's caught in the middle of all this. Husband's tribe isn't picking sides, and suddenly there's a war going on.
And not just any war, right? We're talking battles for freedom. The very air is charged with this desperate energy. And right into this chaos stumbles Sisera on foot, desperate for shelter.
I can only imagine the scene. What's Jael's reaction to, public enemy number one showing up at her door?
So picture this. Jael's in her tent, probably terrified, right? And in walks Sisera, the guy who represents everything her people are fighting against, completely vulnerable, begging for help. What would you do?
Honestly, I'd probably faint or run the opposite direction. But not Jael. She's made of stronger stuff.
Way stronger. She does something incredible. She invites him in.
She invites him in, the general who's been terrorizing everyone. I mean, I get it, hospitality and all, but this is Sisera.
Exactly. It's mind-blowing. She takes him into her tent, gives him some milk to drink, lets him rest, and Sisera, completely exhausted, falls asleep.
I'm getting some serious tension here. You've got this powerful military leader, asleep, totally at the mercy of this woman he probably underestimated completely. This is where the story gets juicy, right?
You bet. Jael, seeing this opportunity to protect her people, she grabs a tent peg and a hammer.
Oh, no way. She didn't.
She did. While Sisera's sleeping, she takes his life.
Wow. Just like that. No epic showdown, no last-minute rescue. Just Jael, a tent peg, and a whole lot of courage.
It's brutal. It's unexpected, but it's effective. Just like that, Deborah's prophecy comes true. Victory from the hand of a woman.
Not just any woman, right? An ordinary woman in an ordinary tent, doing something extraordinary. And with Sisera out of the picture, that was pretty much the end for King Jabin, too.
It was. The Israelites were free, and they enjoyed 40 years of peace, all thanks to Deborah, Barak, and of course, Jael.
It really makes you think, this story, it's about courage, about leadership, about trusting in something bigger than yourself, even when the odds seem impossible.
Absolutely. And it reminds us that heroes can be found in the most unexpected places, doing the most unexpected things.
It's a good lesson for all of us, no matter what kind of battles we're facing in our own lives. So thanks for taking this deep dive with me. Definitely one for the history books, wouldn't you say?
For sure. Until next time.